So we'll call the meeting to order at 4:08. And it looks like everyone is present. And looks like Michael is on as well. So Cassandra, who else do we have on?
That's everybody. Everybody that you see on the screen is everybody that's here.
Okay, I thought I saw somebody else on. It was Michael Dick on earlier?
Yeah, that's me. Here I am.
Okay, so I just was wondering, you're attending for?
Well, a combination of the Capital Budget Committee and for myself.
Okay.
Um,
So I guess I'll put you on the agenda, the third thing on the agenda.
oh no, I am just here to listen in. I know so little about the affordable housing piece of
Okay.
the town hall proposal that I thought I should start tuning into the meetings and learn what I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll move on right to the agenda. Thank you. What we're going to look at is the affordable housing general updates right now. So right now, I think that Mary, I know I had talked to Tamar, but do you want to give us update on 808 Jerusalem Road?
I've been badgering her for 3 weeks, and I finally got something this afternoon, very cryptic. I'm kind of disappointed that she's keeps dropping the ball, but we are progressing with our building permit as it pertains to utilities on site and the amount of ledge on the property. As far as fundraising goes, I would love to start a series of house parties to update the community on where we are. If anybody from the committee would like to be the first to host, please have them reach out to me. But we are getting excited. We have hired an additional site manager, and we look forward to breaking ground and scheduling volunteers. On the house party business, I'm not in a position to do that, and I didn't know if anybody else was interested, but I was wondering if we have a group thing, maybe find, a room here, a room somewhere, and then, each of us invite a few people if we want to, and instead of having to do stuff individually, which we don't have to do anyway, but she's just requesting it, so.
She wants like small groups. Is that why?
Yeah, they usually have small groups that they put the bite on people individually at a party, and that's just not the way I operate, and I'm not wild about it either. So, but I thought if we had, a group of maybe 20 people who we know and maybe are in a position to help, and we invite them all as a group, and we invite them as a committee, then that may be a little less onerous to me anyway.
Yeah, because if you do it individually,
that's fine.
If you do it individually, I was just gonna say, if you do it individually, the onus is on you as to who you want to invite, and then you feel like you're really expecting a donation from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the affordable housing site update for 808 Jerusalem, let me give you what Tamara had discussed with myself earlier today, and that is so after the groundbreaking, they started to pursue what they want to do. They understand there's ledge there, so the ledge has delayed some of their process for that site because they have to determine, what they want to do, how far they want to go down for the foundation, that type of thing. So they're working on all of that. Their next step would be to go, I think, to the planning board, she said, once they determine what they're doing with the ledge, and then start that process. And I asked her, just where they are with the project as a whole, just kind of an overview. And she was stating that it looks like, they'll get the plans together and start that whole process. They closed, I think today, or closes this week, the applications and interview process for people who want to live there and buy the home. So that process is closing, so they'll be able to select a family.
Do you know how many they have?
I don't. And
I
then
thought
once that,
Plural.
they believe that, they'll probably start actually building the home. I don't know if it's through the winter or not, but she thought that they would be done by May timeframe where people could move in. So that was her kind of timeline of that property. And while discussing that, it kind of jumps to our subcommittee updates, which is, it'll be great if we can do some fundraising during the Christmas season, the holiday season where, there are different events around town, the Christmas stroll or things like that, or do people want to have, holiday parties where they could, ask for private donations for the property and all that other stuff. And then they did a golf tournament, their annual golf tournament they did at Marshfield Country Club, which the money they raised there, a percentage of it or all of it went to the 808 Jerusalem Road project. Their gala that we had at the Red Lion Inn this year is going to be at Granite Links next year, May timeframe, first or second week of May. So that'll be happening there for that event. And they'll be coming to us, I suspect, after the holidays to talk about more aggressive fundraising. And also she mentioned getting the community involved in building the house, once they figure out what they're doing with the ledge. So they would come to us to say, hey, who wants to paint, who wants to do this, who wants to do that? So that will be forthcoming. As Mary and I have come to conclude, the right hand never knows what the left hand's doing over there. So,
Well, the fact that you had to do all this, and I've been literally pestering her for 3 or 4 weeks to get, I said, I want a report from her. And what I got was a little text today with minimal information, but you got more. So thank you. Sorry for you having to do the committee report, but
But the other thing that they could probably use help with, which, we can all try to be thinking about, is just if we know various vendors,
Yeah.
painters, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, whatever, a company that has kitchen sinks or I don't know, any of that would be willing to donate in kind, whether it's services or products that, I've been trying to think about that from people who we used when we did our remodeling for our condo. So, I mean, those are things I think that we can all try to think about too, any vendors that we use that we might be able to hit up.
Yeah, so they'll, we talked to them about this early on where they already have a list of corporate sponsors, like Granite City Electric that would donate, certain things, and, the siding guy would donate certain things, the cement guy donate certain things. So we'll obviously be able to work with them probably in the January timeframe to find out what do they already have
What they
committed,
need, right?
some sort of gap analysis of where they are.
Right.
Just closing up the Hingham project. The families just moved into the Hingham properties, so they spent most of the last 2 months on the hoop-de-doo for that. So they're all happy. Everybody's in. Halloween has went out front this week, so they're
great.
they're very excited they're done. So one thing I did talk to her about, and she was in agreement with, and that is for Cassandra to add her to the email list of inviting her to our meetings. So is that something we can do, Cassandra?
Yeah, I can automatically add her to every meeting if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I told her she doesn't have to attend, but at least she knows when we're meeting.
Yeah.
So that there's periodic updates.
I mean, I do think that this Christmas I hadn't thought about Christmas, but I do think that's a Thanksgiving and Christmas are really good opportunities to maybe think about doing some kind of outreach and stuff. So let me think about some things that we could do, in public, to help with it. Maybe, maybe get a Christmas tree that people can buy a sink, someone can buy a faucet, someone can buy sheets. How they have those ornaments on the tree that you buy and then you give to the people. So
Sure,
some
sure.
stuff like
Yeah, there's creative ways to do that. The popular thing around the country has always been a project called the White Envelope, where you put something in an envelope you give to somebody, when they open it, they donated to
Oh.
a charity half kind of thing.
Good.
So it's envelope, people do it around the country for different charities.
How
You
does
know, we
that
can-
work, Paul? I didn't quite get how that works.
So, this might actually happen in my family. It may not go over very well, but so I have 4 children. So instead of wrapping a gift and putting it under the tree, you put a white envelope on the tree. When they open up the envelope, it says, "Hey, gosh, I love you so much that I donated $1,000 to Habitat for Humanity in your name on your behalf."
Right.
And that would be their gift.
Okay, yeah, we do that in our family, but not with the white envelope kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a
I just didn't understand how that was working.
yeah. That's how they do them. But different groups do them differently. But that's generally what is called the white envelope at Christmas time. But there's
But
all
you know,
kinds of ways to do that. But I don't think we should move forward on any fundraising aspects like that until
No.
we understand from her what exactly,
Yeah.
are we only want cash, or do you want in kind, or what is it you need? So
but couldn't we try to incorporate that with the holidays in terms of, I mean, I'd love to see another article that would go out, whether, I don't know, I don't read the, what is it, the Ledger, or any of those, and the Mariner's not really around anymore. But even Cohasset 143 or something like that, to put a kind of a holiday spin to it, and to suggest just what you're saying, the whole concept of like a white envelope that maybe people can share the idea of to their friends or family members. I'd love to have a donation go to Habitat towards this Cohasset house, but to try to get the appeal out on a broader scale than just our immediate,
We could do
committee
something
or something.
in the stroll.
Yeah, something like that.
looking
Yeah.
for applicants.
I'm happy to write something up, but let me put it on my notes.
And
we gotta,
then
maybe,
you can get it in like the December stroll or something.
I think that'd be a
Yeah.
great idea, Beth. Yeah. Because we just got ours, I think, yesterday or something, and, could try to get it in for December, and then people could think about that in terms of, what is it I really need? I don't really need anything, maybe people can give a donation to Habitat in my name, like you're
But
saying.
yeah, it's just in general though, because I don't think, they were talking about getting stuff out at the end of the summer and looking for people then, and that came and went without much notice. So
Right.
I think the stroll would be a good way if they truly are ready to move along, to say, hey, guess what? We're breaking ground and this is going to happen and we're going to need help in the spring, starting now and going into the spring, and this is what you can do. We'll
happy
need
to-
physical help and we'll need donations.
Right.
So that's probably a good idea, but
so Mary, maybe you can, try and push her again, or find out who in her group is handling that aspect of it.
Okay.
Tell her we need decisions in the next 3 weeks as to what is it they want us to do. If they just want, fundraising only, no in kind, then we'll just focus on that part of it and then see what we can get.
But also whoever their publicity person is, maybe say, hey, we had this idea,
Yeah.
we put something in the stroll. So can you give us some facts and figures that we could put in an article, and maybe get a feature on, get one of them too to maybe get interviewed for.
I know she relies on Justin a lot. So I'm sure that'll be a piece of it that she'll want to include, so.
And speaking of,
Justin from the town.
Yeah.
Well, he might be a good resource then for us to
Yeah.
talk. Yeah.
but what about the other stroll, the one that's with all the village shops when they're open that evening, that afternoon and evening? Maybe to pick up on your idea with the Christmas tree kind of theme, maybe we could have a tree and have, like you said, white envelopes on it that would say on the outside what it is that's needed. You could take an envelope that was for $50, or an envelope for $25, or an envelope for $100, or whatever it is. And each person could take an envelope and then go home and in their own convenience, do a donation for that amount, so that the tree would be full of these envelopes with, amounts that people could then donate. I don't know. It's just to make it visible right there. And even kids could say, you know, 3 or 4 kids in a family can say, okay, I'll give my $5 allowance and the 4 of us can give $20. I don't know, just to try to encourage more participation.
Or
Okay, yeah, they do
Probably have, oh, sorry.
that pop-up habitat tent that we can have her.
I was just gonna say, that was, we should have, maybe that night, we should have the tent there at,
Yeah.
10.
also, if they're saying they're gonna be looking for people, that might be a time to maybe start a list of, get people to
Oh.
write, down, hey, yeah, I'd be willing to, you know, when you're organizing volunteers, you can contact me to come do stuff.
Yeah. Because when she's been at the farmer's market, you know, a lot of people stop by just to ask questions. Mary, you know more about this than I do. And she doesn't have a jar. to
No.
mark. And I've asked about
She
that.
didn't take names for a list. She handed them.
I've asked about that.
jar.
Don't you want to have it? She's got a jar with like the nails, count how many nails are in the jar. But you know, if you just had a jar where somebody could just pull out a $20 bill, you know, being there week after week after week, it can add up. And before you know it, you might have hundreds of dollars leading up to $1,000. I don't know. So I'm just trying to think about ways that we can help create an opportunity.
Well, she didn't even take names. She gave them her business card for them to contact her, which, you know, is not the way you recruit
do.
funds.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm underwhelmed, I'll put it that way.
I'm right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because we don't want it to just kind of drag on and not
Right.
be successful. We want it to be successful because it's
Oh,
our
yeah.
first new project.
Yeah. So it's, like I said, this is a big deal for the town because it's the first actual transaction that the town has exercised in no less than 4 different committees. 2 of them that have been recently created, which is the Affordable Housing Steering Committee and the Affordable Housing Trust, to where the town actually transferred land into the trust. We set the trust up with, you know, $5,000, then $10,000, then $20,000, assigned trustees, got the Affordable Housing Steering Committee. We identified the property. We got it transferred to the trust, went out for bid. Habitat
Yeah.
bid on one to put in the affordable housing. So once that's built and we get that under our belt, then, you know, we can demonstrate, you know, through witness that we've actually been able to do this with, you know, very little complication, to be honest with you. It's more the logistics of these meetings that we have that have been more complicated than the actual getting the house built. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to move on to any other housing development sites that we have. So far, the other site that we're talking about is down on South Main Street, where it has the 3 apartments. We know that one of the apartments is going to be deeded affordable. I don't know that he has moved forward on getting that done yet. I know he received funding from the Housing Trust to get a consultant to help him do that. Cassandra, do you know if anything's been filed or movement on that?
I'm sorry, I had someone in the office at the beginning of your statement. So I just came in the middle of that sentence. What are you talking about?
South Main Street, the garage.
147?
Yes. Was
Okay,
it 147?
yes.
Yes, yeah, South Main, yep. So I'm wondering if he actually has moved forward, because I remember mentioning to you, he received grant from the trust to get a consultant to help him.
No, so has not received that funding as of yet. I did reach out to him because a condition of that funding is that he start the process. And he hasn't proved that he started that process yet.
Okay.
So
No
they
way.
were going to give him $15,000 in increments of $5,000 after 3 different stages of the implementation of that.
Okay.
I have not heard back from him as of yet.
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't been to sewer commission either, so he might be behind schedule, I don't know. So the other projects, obviously CJC has been completed. So we're at as we mentioned, the last meeting, we're at 10.1, 10.2, somewhere around there.
Basically 10.19.
Okay, and then,
What is that? What's 10 point, what does that mean?
Percent
Well-
affordable units in town, is that what that is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yes.
so we're over our 10% for 40B.
That's based on the 2020
great
census, is that right?
Sorry, there were two people talking. What was that?
Go
I
ahead,
was
Sue.
just asking, is that based on the 2020 census?
Yes. So when the 2020 census came out, we were under that 10%. But then basically right after that, we had a bunch of units put on the SHI from 390 CJC and 8789 Cushing Street, which bumped us up over the 10% mark.
Okay.
Right, so his units and then the 4 units on Cushing. Those all got added, and so that bumped us up. So then,
And I'm sorry, I don't know this, but are the census numbers locked? They were preliminary at one point, but are those finalized now? Great.
Yes,
And
they
that, so
are.
does that mean does that put us in a place where we're now solid for the next 10 years?
Till the
Or
next
are we,
census, is
or
that
are we
it?
solid unless we drop below?
So essentially we're good until the next census numbers come out. Obviously, whereas these numbers are from the 2020 census 3 years ago, the 10-year mark is a little gray. Because obviously it's going to be whenever the 2030 census comes out.
And your office is keeping track of how many new housing units are added, is that right? So that we can know.
So
When
we
we-
keep track of the affordable housing units, not the total number. The total number is what we get from the census.
Oh, so there's
So-
about,
The denominator stays flush until next census. Is that the case?
but so
Or
there's
stay
nobody who's
like
keeping
flush?
track of like a new house that gets built or anything like that? Any
Building
new?
department would have that.
I
wouldn't
mean,
it?
obviously the building department would have that, but the SHI is not going to change because we only
No.
base it off of the census number.
No, I understand that. I'm just thinking of trying to be forewarned is forearmed or whatever. So, if we know in advance that we're falling pretty far short, we don't want to wait till the next census and then it's like,
Well, we shouldn't really be falling that far short because we already have so many projects lined up, and then every new larger project is filling in that 10%. So you shouldn't really fall that far behind
okay.
because we're continuing to add them.
with the bylaws that we have on the books, with the contiguous dwellings, they have to put them in. I don't think we have any other projects outside of One Pleasant Street that we'll talk about next. That were housing related for affordable housing.
Is there anything happening with the town properties that were talked about transferring to Heather, is it Heather Drive and something in Mill Street? Anything updates on those or?
But those are in the trust now.
Yep. Okay,
Haven't heard what they're doing with the property shed.
that's fine, just checking.
We don't have any other property updates. We got a nice presentation from Clark Brewer as the architect for a private project on Hall Street 228 for 8 additional units over there. So they were just kind of passing some ideas around. We haven't heard from him on that. And there's no other projects in town that have come through the planning board that I'm aware of that would warrant thing. Now I know South Main Street in the village where the gas station was, that was supposed to be 12 apartments with affordable housing, and that project has been suspended until there's a new owner, and then the new
Oh.
owner decide what they're going to do with that, if they're going to keep the plans the way they are or submit all new plans all over again. I don't know if that auction has happened on the property. Now, have you heard anything on that, Cassandra?
I did hear rumors that the auction had taken place, but I don't have like literally any other details other than that, because we weren't, like, I wasn't personally notified of the auction, and I don't know for sure that it happened or who was the winner, if there was a winner.
Okay, so we'll hear from the planning board, I suspect, when something comes up for that property. It'll probably be next year is my guess. So the only other thing that's left on our docket is 1 Pleasant Street, and so we'll move to that on the agenda. And Michael, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to jump in at any time. I'll give you the background for everybody. 1 Pleasant Street is privately owned property that the developer was putting in retail space on the first floor and then 14 apartments on the second floor. And we were going to get credit for 14 affordable housing units, in which 4 of them were going to be deeded for affordable housing. So there would be deed restriction on 4 of them, and the other 10 would be market rate apartments. So that's where we are with that property. There are, as you know, the town has expressed a detailed level of interest in purchasing the building. And in doing so, the Board of Selectmen have moved forward with confirmation of entering into an agreement with the developer to buy the property. And in doing so, they made some changes or modifications to the property to where the first floor would no longer be a retail and restaurant. It would be strictly office and areas. The second floor would be reduced to 13 apartments, in which 4 of them still would be deeded affordable. They've had several public meetings about this property and what it would mean for the town as far as costs and value of having a new town hall, as opposed to remodeling the old one. The last presentation was voted down at town meeting in May for $24 million rehab of that facility. So now they're down to this particular facility, which is roughly $10 million, just specifically for this building. So that's where that property stands now. There's been a lot of talk about the affordable housing aspect of it, and I think that there's a lot of statements that are, I would consider, well wishes and not really accurate to what we're allowed to do by law, right? So a lot of folks have been saying they want to have it for town employees, they want to have it for teachers or other folks in town to make it more affordable. But what we know is that it's only deed restricted for 4 apartments to be part of the affordable housing capital A, in which they would have to go through the state process of getting tenants. The other 9 units then would be market rate. Though if the town indeed is the landlord, can make a decision how much rent they want per unit. So let's say the market rate is $3,000 a unit, the town could say, geez, we want to rent it out for only $1,500 a unit. Then they would get a lot of people who want to apply for that and go there. Yes, Susan.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but along those lines, I just have a question, because I've been misunderstanding then the way that it was presented by the select board at that public meeting that you and Michael and I attended as well, the one that was at the library. My understanding that I picked up was that all of the units were going to be affordable units, that we were picking up 14 affordable units. Now, that would be the case no matter if it were the town owning it or what it was going to be in the first place. But my interpretation of that was that they were all 13, I guess, to be deemed deeded as affordable. So that's not accurate. Is that right?
So let me clarify that. That's where the confusion is.
Yeah. Big confusion.
Right, so and Sandra can help me out on this, though. The only ones that will be affordable are the 4 units that are deeded, in which they have to go through the state process of finding a tenant for that.
Okay, so they're not gonna deed all 13 of them.
If the property owner registers all 13 apartments with the state as deeded, then yes, they would be, but he's only registering 4 that we're aware of.
Okay.
And I guess the question is, I also have the same question, and I actually don't know, having talked to a couple of people who were part of the present, like, I'm not sure if they if that was understood before, that we had credit for all 14 already. But I guess, does the town, once the town is the owner, if the town does buy the property, is it the town's, I think it's the town's ability to register all of the units, right?
So, here's what I understand. Again, Cassandra's in the business. I'm not in the business full time, but if you want to permanently have affordable housing, you need to restrict the units. So right now, our bylaws require that 4 of them be deeded. And that's what the contractor is doing. Now, if the town buys it, they could file additional deed restrictions with the state and deed the rest of the units if they do so. Now, they may choose to keep them at market rate and collect the revenue.
Right,
So-
it's a trade-off, and the town will have to make a decision. Essentially, it doesn't help us at all to do that for purposes of 40B compliance, because we get
Exactly,
credit for
because
all
we
of
get
them.
credit for all of them anyway.
So it's just the sort of like big A, little a, it's like essentially whether or not we want to have in perpetuity, even if the town were to sell the building. Because the town can charge whatever rates it wants. So the town could not deed restrict them, but also charge affordable rates.
So, so it's basically it's a plan. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. We have 4 that are deeded, so they're gonna go with whatever the rate is. I think it's like $2,200 right
Wow.
now for an affordable house. Maybe it's $3,000 for one that's not deed restricted, something like that. So the question then becomes, does the town want to collect, let's see, we've got 9 of them, times, let's say it's 3,000 a month, right? So they're gonna collect $27,000 a month in rent, times 12 months. So they're gonna collect $324,000 in rent. So the question is, do they want to do that? Because one of the pitches that the town gave to everybody is, hey, if we buy this building, we can offset the $10 million expense by $300,000 to $400,000 a year in rental income,
Rent we get.
right? So that's what they're telling people. Well, that's not exactly true, because I had gone through this process with working with the folks at the town hall about trying to find a path specifically for the affordable housing. And I worked with some folks over at NeighborWorks, and I called a couple of other agencies that they referred us to. And you know, the town had a couple of options in which other municipalities opt into, and that is, you know, you could make it a condo where the town owns the first floor, and the other ones are condoed out. We would get credit for the 2 or 3 units there or 4 units there. The rest of them would be condos. The town opted not to do that. They want to own the whole building. So where the town is going to own the building, the issue they have now is they need to find a property man, someone to run the property of the second floor, handle all the tenants, moving in, moving out, trash removal, plumbing, electrical problems, whatever it is, right? So they have to have a property manager to do that once a year. Whatever that management company service is gonna cost, could be $100,000 a year, I have no idea. The second thing they have to do is they have to hire someone like CJC did, which will help them on the 4 affordable housing units go through the state portal and get tenants into there. So that's gonna cost a fee. So they haven't put all of that together yet to find out what is the logistics who are the vendors that are interested, and then lining all of that up so that if they buy this property, they could immediately go into an agreement with these two groups to help get tenants in the building and start collecting rental income.
And Paul, if they do not put all 13 of them in deeded as affordable units, which then the state gets involved with, then the other 9 units that are not deeded, does the town have the capability of making a determination of what kind of situation? Can they dictate, we would like these to be town employees, we would like these to be veterans, you know, or or we would like to make this be for seniors 55 and over, whatever it is? Can
I
they
don't
make that
know.
determination?
So,
If
so
it's
we
the
know,
state, you can't make that determination.
well, we know Massachusetts law with deeded affordable housing. Towns have, you know, I don't know, the preference list they call it, or the set asides, where veterans go first, and then, you know, seniors or people
That's
in
for
town.
the state. That's for the
Right.
state.
Right, but when it comes to market rate, I don't know what the laws are that would allow you to do that, because, you know, every landlord is held to a standard of non-discriminatory practices when renting, right? So I don't know what those laws are that would apply to the town.
How can we find that out? Because I mean, that would be something that I think people would want to know before they make a determination about whether they want to vote and approve this. If they know that the town is intending to and can legally designate that those units are for town employees or veterans or whatever.
Right, so at the Cohasset Elder Affairs Board meeting yesterday morning, one of the select board members came to present specifically this town hall issue, and stated that they would have the right to, you know, dictate, you know, how low they want the rent to be that would draw lower income people into it. He did not confirm that they could specifically say it's only for this group of people in this type of work environment, you know, fire, police, or teachers, or I don't know how they dice it up. I really don't know. I mean,
Planning board or
Yeah, that-
planning directors.
it's really a legal counsel's question to answer, is, you know, how can we get the people we want into those apartments without discrimination? That gets us the question. So if you want to, you know, restrict your property for 55 and older or something like that, I don't know what those provisions are. They would have to kind of figure that out.
Okay.
When you did all like the workforce housing research, Paul, were they restricted somehow?
On how a municipality would acquire a building?
Yeah, but then wasn't it like there was one that was geared towards veterans, and you know, that was that a different one?
Right, no, so yeah, two different things. One is I worked with a couple of folks on trying to understand how a municipality would acquire a building and have affordable housing units with it. And there's, you know, not too many options you have, and most of the options had to have started with building the building first. So the problem they had was they've already built the building, so it's kind of late to get the nonprofit entities involved and be able to make money controlling the project, converting the project, and running the housing. So those options were kind of off the table because the building's already built.
Okay.
Had we said we're gonna build One Pleasant Street, then there are nonprofits that would have come in and funded that and wouldn't have been able to convert it to specific housing.
Okay.
But those options are not available at this point.
Yeah, I don't think the town, with all the you know, fair housing laws that are out there now, I really don't think they can pick and choose who can be there.
Yeah. I think so either.
There's a lot of good intentions, you know, but
You may be limited.
we experienced this with Cushing Street. Remember, you got 4 empty apartments over there, and like, oh, get the email out to all the town employees, get it out to all the firemen, all the, police, get it out to all the teachers. Nobody wanted it.
Yes.
It took quite some time to get those apartments filled, and the same thing's going to occur at 1 Pleasant Street,
Then Paul, why would they not consider, why, I don't know, I mean, this is maybe not for us to discuss, but why would they not consider condominiumizing it so that the upper, that 9 of them could be condominiums, where then they sell them and they don't have to have a person to manage it and all the other stuff that you were referring to.
So the
And they get their money back right away.
Well, the condominium concept was presented to them early on about when you acquire the building to convert it to condominiums, and then the town would only own the first floor. That's all. They would not own the other second floor or any of the apartments. That would keep them out of the landlord business, which is what most towns opt for. They opted not to do that. They opted to own 100% of the building, and that's what they want to do. So some of those decisions were already made as to what direction they wanted to go to. So that limits what you can do now with the property. So kind of with all of that said, I did meet with the Housing Trust. 2 of us did a video for public service about housing in general. We didn't specifically, throw pom-poms up in the air for buying this thing. We talked about the housing and what it means for the town. So I don't know if he's going to put that up on YouTube or something like that at some point. It's very similar to the other ones that the select board did. Now, one of the things that came out as a surprise in the last 2 weeks is the select board went to CPC and asked to borrow money or received money from CPC specific for the affordable housing aspect of the new town hall. And I received a lot of heated phone calls from folks who are against that, and I am 100% against it. So what occurred from that is the select board has now asked for our committee and the trust to meet next Tuesday night in person at the Wilcott Senior Center to specifically talk about how they want to use that 1.3 million they asked for and how they claim it's for affordable housing.
And why, can you explain to our committee what your reasoning is as to why you oppose it? Just out of curiosity.
Right. So nobody was aware that they went there to do that. They said they were getting the $1.3 million for affordable housing. And so I'm opposed to it for 2 reasons. One is it is not the CPC funding is not preserving anything in the community with this building. Okay. And their argument was the Board of Selectmen's argument as well. They gave us money in the past for the town hall. I said, well, they gave you money in the past for the historic
Town hall, yeah.
Historic preservation.
This is not even a week old yet. So there's nothing historic about it at all. It's a new town hall. And as a taxpayer, I am flawed that they would take 1.3 million from CPC, which is for technically 3 buckets of preserving the town's space and recreation and housing, and use it as a down payment or to help reduce the debt on something they're financing over 20 years anyway.
Right.
The debt's rolling off from the school project, and they're saying, well, geez, you're used to paying this extra $900 a month. I mean, $900 a year. What's another 200 when we add this 10 million to it? And
we
I
would
said,
have gotten those 4 units anyway if it had been privately owned.
Doesn't matter
Okay.
who owns the building, we're getting it, whether the town
Right.
owns it or not.
Okay.
So I'm against CPC approving that because it has, I don't know of any reason that CPC money should be used for a new town hall. What they argued was it's for the affordable housing. Now, you don't buy affordable housing with CPC money that I know of. I mean, the trust is the only one that can do that. They're not buying affordable housing. Remember, our bylaws specifically require that the property owner deed for them for affordable housing.
Right.
So we get them by law, we get those for free, right? He has to put them in. If there were
Not
condos.
creating anything additional is what you're saying.
Not- So tell me what the $1.3 million is for. They can't answer that question. So specifically, if we were going to go to this meeting, give me some details of what you're thinking. So the chairwoman of the select board sent me a detailed email to myself and Steve Gomer. And she said, well, we're not using the affordable housing money. This is leftover money that CPC has that's not.
He doesn't understand how CPC money works then.
So I don't know. I've never interacted with CPC. I've never requested money from them. They're nice people. You were on the board.
15 years.
Yeah, so I don't understand. I just don't understand. They said that I'm scrolling for the piece of it that she asked for. So she said that this money is not coming from the affordable housing part of CPC, that it's leftover money that they haven't designated or didn't get used. And they said, well, what's the big deal? Because they collect $600,000 to $800,000 a year anyway from the town, which is taxpayer money, which, you know, if we decided to shut down CPC, we'd all get a 2 or 3% raise. But they collect $600,000 to $800,000 a year anyway, and a percentage of that, I think, is 20% or 25% goes to affordable, and goes into that bucket. So they claim that that they're well within their rights to ask for that, and CPC is well within their rights to give it to them. But I don't understand it. I mean, I'm just ignorant to how the process is, or what the definition of use of funds are specific to that. But I just don't know. And they're saying they would probably use the money to pay somebody to do the property management company. And I'm like, well, what is the rental income going to be for? If you're going to collect $350,000 to $400,000 a year, what are you going to do with that money? And when I was in that public meeting, I said, look, you know, the biggest decision it has to make right now is not buying a couple of assets for $25 million. It's what are we doing for the next 30 years in stewardship? Because we haven't changed the structure of our town government in 50 years. Certainly, technology has changed, but we haven't, you know, changed how we run things or do things. You know, we still keep buying stuff and building stuff, and there's no plan. There's no accounting fund for preservation of these facilities, you know, preventive maintenance of them, and regular maintenance and emergency maintenance of them. There just isn't. I mean, everyone just calls Brian Joyce on a Monday morning. So, you know, my comment to the board was, look, what's more important than this 25 million is what are we doing with the money? What are we doing for the next 30 years to preserve these facilities? Because we obviously did nothing since 1987, right? Because you told us the town hall is in such disrepair that it's unsafe to go to work in. So how do we know that's not going to happen in 30 years from now on one place? So
Well, have they already put the request in to CPC? And if so, do you know when they did?
I was told CPC voted to give them the 1.3.
Oh, they did.
That's what I was told. Now, I haven't talked to Tom Reardon, but that's what I'm told.
But it has to be passed at town meeting, right?
Correct.
Believe-
Yeah,
But
CPC
also-
takes a vote, but then everything that CPC approves and designates those funds for has to be approved at town meeting. It can
Yeah.
either be individualized or it can be as a group. And that depends on what people want.
Yeah, my guess is they'll lump it in so it gets passed.
But we
Uh,
can request that it
Well,
be,
Mike
Dick-
wants to speak.
Mike Dick has something, yeah, too.
Yeah, somebody would have to stand up and amend the article, you know, but,
Paul,
So-
Mike Dick has something he wanted to say too.
oh, sorry, I can't see people other than the person speaking, so sorry about that, Michael, go right ahead.
Hi, everybody. I hadn't planned to say anything. I'm following your discussion with great interest. CPC did vote and approve 1.3 million for the purchase of 4 units for under 40B affordable as a contribution towards the town hall project. I can tell you that much. I was at that meeting where the vote was taken. I think Paul is exactly right in his concerns for a lot of unanswered questions. Now I want to speak as Mike, the individual who lives on 27 Parker Ave. If anyone's checking. My concern is that the select board has divided and conquered amongst the different boards that weigh in on this. And so I would think that the Affordable Housing Steering Committee and the Affordable Housing Trust should have been brought together with CPC when all of this was percolating. There is still uncertainty, and Paul, perhaps you can speak to this. There's uncertainty on how the affordable housing piece must be managed. And the select board right now is saying, well, we're going to have a affordable housing management company to handle that for us. I don't know if that's a good enough answer. I don't know if that, honestly, I don't know. And one reason I tuned in today was perhaps try to find out, maybe. I was hoping that maybe you folks would be discussing. But it seems to me that there is a rush and a push to replace the current annex building with a new building. There is still, and now I'm speaking from capital budget, we had a lot of questions still unanswered. We have not taken any votes yet to either approve or disapprove, or recommend or not recommend is better way to say it. That warrant article, not only for CPC, but also for the town hall project itself. So a lot of concern and a lot of feeling on the part of those people who are skeptical, myself included, that this has not been fully thought through. The other point I wanted to make is not only does the CPC allocation or funding have to pass on the floor of town meeting, it also has to pass a ballot resolution, I believe. So, and I could be wrong on that, but
When is it the ballot measure or ballot resolution? I don't recall that part.
So there's an election day this Saturday after the Monday vote at town meeting.
But the election day doesn't have anything to do with funds for CPC.
No,
Well,
the town
The
has
town
to,
has to approve the override. All
Yeah.
this is for an override.
okay, so it's for the override versus just the CPC piece.
Okay, that's different then. all right.
Okay, so, and I appreciate getting educated here on this. So I just wanted to lay that out, that
no,
a lot of different groups are being approached by select board, but none of them are interconnecting.
that's correct. So I'm in 100% agreement with what you stated. You know, I was part of the group that got beat up pretty good over the senior center. And the biggest argument was we didn't go through the proper process, right? We didn't go through all the committees, didn't get everything vetted. So we finally got that resolved. So we're supposed to have lessons learned here. And we've had a town hall building committee for 7 years working on this. They've received up to $1 million worth of funding, which I think they've only spent about 300 or 400 of it in plans. They've come before the town 3 times with a $8 million ask, a $16 million ask, and then a $24 million ask. And each time they were voted down. That's over a 7-year period. So the question I have yet to have answered by any of the select board members is how, since May, it's been 4 months, how in 4 months, a team of geniuses get together and find a building on 3A for the police and fire, find a building on Pleasant Street for the new town hall, wrap it up in 24 million and tell us it's cheaper than remodeling the old town hall. That's just a personal thing that I keep asking them, you know, if nothing's gone through this process, like you stated, they did purposely divide and conquer and put together a PR campaign to push this. I don't know what's troubling to me is I don't know if it's driven by town employees pushing on behalf of the select board who decided this is the way to go, because I don't remember. In fact, I asked if the town hall building committee was part of this and they weren't. They're still a separate committee. They weren't part of the selection process or working on One Pleasant Street. It was a different group of people. You are right, though. These other committees, we should have had joint committees on getting together and helping make decisions together when it came to aspects of this town hall. None of that happened. As a matter of fact, we weren't even notified that, hey, we're going to be talking about affordable housing with CPC.
Yeah, I find that really appalling, frankly,
Yeah.
because there is an affordable housing steering committee and there is an affordable housing trust. We should be brought into any discussion that is pertinent to that topic. And the fact that that did not happen, I'm appalled at that. That does not necessarily mean personally for me that I oppose the town purchasing that for the town hall. I see those as two different things. That just because I'm upset with the select board that they didn't bring us in, I don't want that to color my determination about what I think is best for the town. And I don't think that this is the place for us to debate that myself.
Right. So I think the other points that Michael was making is one is I'd like to see what the bill of sale says for CPC buying affordable housing, because they're not buying 4 units of affordable housing. The town is buying one building that is 16,000 square feet or so, and it has a deed restriction on it for affordable housing. So my argument is CPC is not buying affordable housing. So I don't know what and how they define their way into that comment I'm dumbfounded by how they can do that. Your other comment was, where are they on this whole, how they're going to manage it, how they're going to do it. So I asked if there was, if the rental income was already going into a separate chart of accounts, and they said, well, you know, we haven't really figured that out yet. I mean, well, the first thing you do is figure out is where's the money going to go, right? What account are you going to put it in? And you could, you know, earmark that for facility maintenance. You can do it specific to One Pleasant Street, or you can say general for all town-owned facilities. I don't know how loose they want to define it, or how detailed they want to define it. The select board member that attended our meeting yesterday, when I stated the aspect of stewardship and putting that money into an account, he said, well, you know, we'd be collecting that rent for quite a while. You know, if it's $300,000 to $400,000 a year, we might have too much money in there, and we might want in 5 years take money out and use it for something else. And I'm like, they've already started. You know what I mean? That was the troubling part about it, is they already started thinking about using it for something else. And I told him that, you know, listen, we had a hard lesson to learn about the unfunded pension liability in this town. And what did we do to fix it? We came up with a plan. We earmarked the funds. We specifically said this is going to happen no matter what, and it's going in here, going to pay down this fund. And that's what they did, and that's why that fund is on its way to being very stable. They need to do that exact same thing for these facilities. You can't do it on a whim year to year. It's just not going to work. And the other thing that Michael, you stated was, where are they on this property management and handling it all? They're nowhere. They've interviewed a number of companies and a number of services. The problem we have is the project's too small for most of the companies. So a lot of them said no, they do not want to manage the property. So the town of Norwell has a property management piece. So they asked them a couple of times to come down, take a look at it. They came down, they considered it, but then they said their plate was too full with other projects that they would pass on it. So they're going to the private sector now. The company that manages just the affordable tenants, for CJC. They contacted them, they're interested, but they're limited. They're just going to help you with the tenants, for the affordable side of it. You still need a property management company to manage the 13 apartments on an ongoing basis. I don't know if they've engaged anyone, if they have to go out for bid. I haven't heard, where they are on that.
What about using the housing authority's abilities to do some of this and subbing out a contract, not using them as the housing authority, but saying, can you set up a contract separately for property management for this facility?
I understand that's state specific, that facility, and how
It is.
it's.
That's something that the state controls, Mary. It is not just because it's the Cohasset Housing Authority does not mean that Cohasset makes the determinations. It's all falls under the state, and it's
Yep.
very strict guidelines.
So it's, so the select board wants us to go next Tuesday, so if you guys are all in favor of that, we will do that.
We'll be there.
Cassandra, I think, was already setting it up for us to be there, so we would have, an official meeting, so we would need a quorum of at least 3 of us. So I
Yes,
plan.
so I've posted the agenda for that. You would need a quorum in order to have any discussions.
And the trust, are they going as well? Jen, do you know?
I believe that's the plan.
Right, so, they've pretty much laid out their argument over getting the CPC money. I guess they want us to understand their viewpoint. I suppose we can ask them some of my strong concerns, and see what happens. And I don't expect any miracle out of this group. I think they've got a plan. They're going to implement it. They're going to hear public opinion, and they're going to keep moving their plan forward unless there's, major roadblock. I don't see any changes coming that I'm aware of. I haven't seen any arguments that have swayed them to think otherwise than what they're currently thinking.
Paul, I want to jump in here for a second again, because when we moved to town in 2005, I was contacted by Margie Charles and asked if I would be interested in serving on the Cohasset Housing Authority, which I did for 15 years on the board, and then was the representative from the Cohasset Housing Authority to the CPC with the charge of speaking up in favor of and support of affordable housing for the town. And in the 15 years that I was on the Housing Authority and the CPC, there was not one single new project that added to the affordable housing roles of the town. The monies that were used within the affordable housing section of Kitty, if you will, within the budget, as you pointed out, there are 3 categories. There's affordable housing, there's open space and recreation, and there's historical preservation. And within the affordable housing kitty, all of the monies through the 15 years that were expended from CPC went to the Housing Authority to do things at the Housing Authority that very much needed to be done. And I was torn because I was on the Housing Authority board and I wanted to support the need that was present, but it didn't add one single new unit to our housing. And the problem that I have with this particular use of $1.3 million is that it's not doing anything in addition to what would already be done, no matter who owns that property. So the town is not really gaining additional affordable housing. I don't necessarily say that I object to the town doing that. That's a whole nother can of worms and another discussion. But in terms of that money being used to improve affordable housing, it's not doing that. And so to that end, I would very vehemently object to that, because it's back to the same thing. It's not gaining us anything in addition. That
Correct.
$1.3 million could be put over to the Affordable Housing Trust if need be, in which they could do an additional project that could gain us something for the town. So that's my main beef.
Right.
Besides the fact
And-
that they never contacted us.
So what people aren't talking about either is, you know, we what they're not telling anybody is, oh, by the way, we're keeping the old town hall and we're keeping and oh, by the way, we still have to fix it.
Yep.
And fixing it is going to be somewhere around $6 to $8 million just to keep it from hitting the sidewalk. And, that
But that's
1.3
not for
million,
this committee to be concerned with. That's not
right,
not our purview.
but they're taking 1.3 million away from CPC and they're saying they're buying affordable housing, which they're not. That 1.3 million should be earmarked for the old town hall.
Well, then it doesn't come out of the affordable housing kitty.
It
That's
doesn't, no.
very different.
Right, and that 1.3 million is not currently in that kitty either. They're telling me that 1.3 million is unused funds, undesignated category, and is not touching any of the CPC money designated for affordable housing.
Any
So
unused funds are still have to fall under 3 categories. So that's what I said earlier. They don't understand how CPC funds work, if that's what they're saying. It's
Right,
not
they're-
like there's this big pot out there in the sky that can be used for whatever they want. It falls into 3 categories and that's it.
Yeah, they claim there's a 4th one called undesignated category.
There's not.
Yep,
Dream on.
Wow.
yeah. So, so anyway, I think that 1.3 million should go to the old town hall and not affordable housing, because we're already getting the affordable housing. So explain to me how you're buying affordable housing for 1.3. You're not. We already have it.
Right.
He probably already filed with the state, the deed restriction, the contractor. So, I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll be there on next Tuesday.
Right, so we can voice these same concerns next Tuesday. I voiced them several times to the select board, so they probably know my question. So does anybody have anything else, Michael? Any other comments?
Not me.
I would love to have one of you join us at a capital budget meeting when we actually do take up the town hall question. Paul, as chair, I can try and work with you. We
Okay.
don't have a liaison to your group, but I'm happy to just fill that role. Just in light of making sure that we have an understanding of what the affordable housing ramifications are. And what Susan had to say, I think is really germane, that the select board is maybe making things easy for themselves, but in a way that can be challenged in court. So that puts the town at risk. And my approach as a capital budget committee person is, what is the level of risk that we face with all of these proposals? And when you put a dollar figure onto that risk, how much is that? And we have not gotten, and probably never will get, answers to that. But that's my approach to capital budget and reviewing projects for approval.
Yeah, so they're obviously becoming a landlord, is introducing a whole nother level of risk to the town, in which one of the Jenkins stood up and asked some questions about the risk of being a landlord, and they said, yeah, it's a risk and we're going to have to get insurance. You know, so that was the answer. You know, so I would be more than happy to come to budget.
So I'll keep an eye on our agenda, Paul, and when I do see it on our agenda, make sure you're invited, and I'll let Brian Host, our chair, know that I've reached out to you.
Okay, terrific.
And then as far as the Affordable Housing Trust, who would I be connecting to there? Would that be Steve?
It would
Gomer?
be Steve Gomer.
Okay. So
He'll be the easiest one to get a hold of.
I'll do the same thing. And that way, in our meeting, we have the subject matter experts with us to advise.
Or portraying to be.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
you all. Thank you for letting me
joining.
attend.
Thank you, Mike.
That was good.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the administrative side. So any additional member comments, I'll skip right now. Let's go to approving meeting minutes.
So yeah, does anyone have any changes or were they okay?
Nice job.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you for doing it. That's great.
A lot longer than I thought it would be.
See, that's my trouble. I'm very wordy. I don't know how to do little minutes.
Thorough.
Yeah, well,
Very thorough, wonderful.
you're used to doing a write-up on a shed as a 5-bedroom apartment.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't at the
Okay.
meeting, so it was great to hear all the detail. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to get, and I don't know. Then I find myself like listening and I'm like, oh, I should be writing this down. So anyway, I kind of like write everything and then try to sparse it out. So, okay, everybody was okay.
Motion?
Very nice.
Do we have a motion to approve the
Doing
minutes?
it. So moved.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Minutes are approved.
One down, 79 million to go.
So we'll confirm our next meeting, which is technically the 24th of October, select board meeting.
Okay.
That's true.
And then our regular monthly meeting would be November 21st, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
that
out of
like-
town. I'm out of town then.
Okay. Do we
Not that
want,
that matters, but that's just so you know.
you want to do it on the 28th after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that might be good.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Cassandra, is that okay with you?
Let me just confirm in my calendar. Hold on. Sounds okay, but you never
Yeah.
know. Yes, that should be fine.
Okay,
so-
good.
so
I think
We'll go back to 4:30.
So the 28th. And
Is four still not good, Mary?
No,
we-
it was Jennifer that was,
Oh, is
Yeah.
4 o'clock, Jennifer? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better for everyone else. I struggle with 4 o'clock, but that's because I'm usually at work and in the middle of
Yeah.
my workday, so.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really change with 4:30, so I think we should
Do
do.
we
what's
want to
best
do
for
4:30? I don't know, whatever.
It doesn't 4:30.
Doesn't matter
It's
to
not
me.
really helping, just do 4, yeah, it's fine.
okay, we'll stick to 4 o'clock then. 4
4
PM.
o'clock on the 28th, okay.
I'm still here as well. I have a Zoom call with Japan from 6:30 to 7:30 tonight here, and then I'll drive home for an
Who
hour.
knows what time that is there?
Yeah, it's tomorrow already. I should ask him what the lottery numbers are.
I had my 30th birthday in Japan, and then we flew home that next day, and I got to have my birthday again.
wow.
that's pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm putting
Right.
housing down 28th of November and the 24th at 10 select board meeting at 7 PM. You can join via Zoom if you wish. We're going to be there in person at the senior center, which is next Tuesday.
Okay,
And then any member comments?
no, I think we all commented.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can tell, I was a little concerned.
Well, thank you for beating the drum for us.
Yeah, the 1.3 million is really the one thing that bugs me the most.
Yeah.
You know, that's not good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll voice those opinions again next Tuesday night.
Okay. So,
Uh, Then
Wow.
Cassandra, she'll get Habitat on the loop for the 28th, see if she wants to
Yeah.
come in.
Right.
And then we don't need to invite her to the select board meeting, obviously. But that's what we'll do.
okay,
Great.
Okay, everyone, we'll see you next Tuesday night.
Thanks,
Okay.
folks.
Just
Thank
a
you,
motion
everybody.
to adjourn
Yeah.
before you all leave.
Motion
motion to adjourn.
Yes. All
Second.
in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for keeping us.
5:23.
Good night, all.
Okay, bye-bye.